All right, this is a quick one, folks. But this is another rather hopeful one. Thomas Massie, that is a viral tweet, 7.2
Wow.
million views just a couple days ago, saying nothing can justify the number of civilian casualties, tens of thousands of women and children inflicted by Israel in Gaza in the last 2 years. We should end all U.S. military aid to Israel now. Danny Haifong replies, says, you were the only one saying this in Washington. You're not only right, but you expose the entire Washington neocon foreign policy elite, controlling all chambers in the process in one tweet. Thank you for this, says Blakely, our friend Blakely. It's pathetic and embarrassing. Not a single Democrat has said anything similar. Gerald Salenti, bravo. Gen X girl, yes, end all military aid to Israel now. And Janine Eunice, thank you, Representative Thomas Massie. Yes, Republican says U.S. should end all military aid to Israel. Newsweek has the write-up. Massie's remarks about ceasing U.S. military aid to Israel come as the U.S.-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation faces intense criticism over what critics describe as a chaotic approach to aid distribution. Yeah, chaotic. That's what we're saying. It's chaotic, meaning they lure
Yeah.
people 10 miles south so they can lock them in and then open fire on them and accuse them of
Yeah.
rioting.
Well, I
Video
mean, that is
footage.
chaotic.
It
Technically,
is.
that's chaotic.
Yes. Incomplete, but accurate, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yeah. Not incorrect, but incomplete.
Incomplete. That's right. Video footage and photos posted to social media have shown thousands of Palestinians scrambling for food amid reports of Israeli gunfire and multiple casualties. Massie has long been outspoken about his views of Israel and was the only Republican to vote against a bill condemning anti-Semitism in 2022. The Kentucky Republican later defended his vote on X, formerly Twitter, saying, I don't hate anyone based on his or her ethnicity or religion. Legitimate government exists in part to punish those who commit unprovoked violence against others, but government can't legislate thought, Massie added. This bill promoted internet censorship and violations of the First Amendment. Hey, look at that. Someone who cares about the First Amendment. In March 2024, Massie voted against a bill that would have forced then President Joe Biden to approve more military assistance to Israel. Last October, while Israel was carrying out its military campaign in Lebanon, Massie posted on X, if Israel insists on destroying civilian targets in Lebanon, let them buy and build their own weapons. American taxpayers should not be funding this. So he gets some haters, obviously, for that tweet, predictably. You just told us you're not a Christian without saying it, says Zek RB.
How
Christian Zionist.
crazy do you have to be to say something like that?
Of course, and this was so crazy that, he decided to go back and forth with some of these. I disagree with your version of Christianity if it requires endorsing the deaths of women and children on behalf of any country. Cat Rambo says, I am with you as soon as Hamas is gone. Until Hamas is there, Israel has no choice. That sentence doesn't even make any sense, but these are not the brain trust of America here, obviously.
No,
If
they're not.
Mexico was run by a government whose sole purpose, even in writing, was to destroy our country, you would be irresponsible to stop. Now, if the Palestinians would stand against Hamas, which they have begun to do, and arrest Hamas and have a sane head, seemingly like happened in Syria, ! I would agree with you 100, to which Massie replies. Now, the guy is humble when he has enough respect for people to respond to someone who can't even write. I mean, that's basically an illiterate person who wrote that. But he responded, he says...
Well, also historically illiterate. We installed a terrorist, someone formerly categorized as a terrorist to lead Syria.
In Syria, yeah. Literally an Al-Qaeda terrorist. Yeah.
Yes, literally.
Yeah. Thomas Massie says, sounds like you feel the death of 50,000 women and children is justified and that more such deaths are necessary. I disagree. Good for him. AIPAC tracker replies, thank you for calling it out, Representative Massie, giving him the green background, the very, very rare green background on their graphic for having taken $0 and 0 cents from AIPAC.
There's the other slide that shows he's only ever done straight missionary, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, it's funny how those two
They
things
can't
go
get him
hand in
that
hand.
way either, yeah.
Squeaky clean. That's right. Massie 2028 Shepherd Ferry style from Philip. So, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is, first of all, I wanted to just, highlight the fact that he came out and just said we should cut Israel off entirely, basically sever the relationship. He didn't parse it the way Bernie does with Netanyahu's war. No, he said
Yeah.
we
Right.
end military
Yep.
aid to Israel. Now, just making a philosophical statement, this is not our fight. They are conducting this fight in horribly brutal and unjust fashion, and so we have to cut it off. We have a moral obligation to cut off this state, not just blaming it on one or two actors, but this
Hmm.
state, which is a place that, of course, Bernie Sanders will not go. Um, that, in addition to the fact that he does have a history of taking stances for the First Amendment, which is to me uh, one of the really disappointing things about the way this Trump administration has played out. Not that I didn't expect it from Trump, but that you saw a lot of like libertarian types who like Thomas Massie really side with Trump and have to stomach a lot of these infringements upon First Amendment rights. David Pakman got a lot of shit this week for posting a video saying he's preparing to leave the country, which is kind of
Honestly, I didn't really understand, and we're not fans of Pac-Man. Like, why would you give him shit for that? What is he the only one thinking about leaving the country?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, I watched the video out of curiosity because it's a thought that has crossed my mind, and look what he said. Now, the thing that's kind of funny about Pac-Man is ultimately, I mean, is he a
Oh,
threat to
he's a
anybody?
douche.
I
Yeah,
mean, he's a
right.
douche, and is
Yeah.
he really a threat to anybody? I
Right.
mean, that's like John Favreau saying he's going to leave America. Like, what,
That's
come
true.
after him?
Yeah,
You know,
fair.
but
But it seemed like a lot of the mockery was just the very idea that you would
the
leave
idea
the
that you might
country.
want to leave. And,
Yeah.
Pac-Man said he's got a family now. He's got to think not just about himself, but about his family. And yeah, I mean, I've been open about the fact that I've thought about it. I'm an EU citizen. And so it's easier for me than it is for most. And not only is it easier, but because I'm an EU citizen, I kind of have some options as to where I can go. And I will say this: I have to admit this. I have to give my libertarian friends I have to throw them a bone here because while I disagree with a lot of their economic philosophy, I do have to admit that like when I look around at the different countries and I compare them, just in case the day comes where I think I'd be better off. I'm not saying it's a likelihood at this point, just like Pac-Man said, it's not a likelihood at this point, but you have to make preparations, especially when you have a family. You have an obligation to other people. It's
Right.
not just you.
Right.
The number one thing I'm looking for in places to maybe live, if it comes to that, is actually not which place has the best public health care system, not which place has the best public housing system. It's which countries have the strongest record on civil liberties. And I got to
Yep.
say, I have to admit, I got to throw a bone to my libertarian friends and say, you know what? When you really feel pressure, that's what matters most to me. Now, look,
Yeah.
I'm a loudmouth fuck. I make my living running my big fat fucking mouth online. If I didn't do this for a living, maybe I would prioritize those other things. But given where we are now and what the situation is now, I think Thomas Massie should run for president in 2028. I think it would create a really interesting debate on the right that I think has been brewing for a long time.
Yeah.
Do I think they're going to let anyone who hasn't taken a dime from Israel anywhere near the White House? No. I don't.
By that time, I don't think Israel's going to be the going concern it is now.
Well, hopefully.
I honestly believe that. I believe that they are going to collapse. Not that by 2028 they won't exist, but they're going to be pretty bad off by then, to the point that I don't think people are going to feel as much that Israel is a going concern as they do now.
All right. Well, I mean, I'll entertain that. I still think they're gangsters who, have a very strong grip on power. But I will entertain that. I'm actually happy to entertain that. So that's all the more reason he should run. That's all the more reason he should run because there needs
I'm
to
saying
be.
I don't know that that's going to be the obstacle then that it is now.
Yeah, and there needs to be a reckoning within the Republican Party. Okay, what do you fucking assholes mean when you say you want limited government? Because this is not it. This is not it. You know, you guys complained about the government on your ass. You complained about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on your ass about what you could think, what you could say about
Mm-hmm.
taxes and
Well,
all this stuff and persecution.
Oliver Anthony got very emotional about it.
Yeah, Oliver Anthony got
Want to
very
know
emotional.
what you think?
Yeah,
Want to
exactly.
know what you do?
Right. So I want to see a MAGA candidate, the heir to the MAGA throne, which may be J.D. Vance, maybe Don Jr., maybe Tulsi, maybe, you know, somebody from the executive branch right now, whoever is the successor, likely Vance, not 100%, go up against Thomas Massie. I want to see that debate take place. I want to see how serious are you about prioritizing limited government and civil liberties. Because that is a debate that I think now is very, very urgent in the Republican
Yes.
Party, and it's not clear to me who will win that. It's not.
Mhm.
It's clear to me that Massey has a very strong and committed base of support. We know this just from participating in the online discourse. A lot
He's
of people
really
really
the
love
only
him.
one that Trump can go after, where his own base
Right, he's Trump proof. Exactly.
takes Massey's side.
He's the only Trump proof Republican, so he's got a very loyal core base who really likes him. I would like to see how much in the way of legs that message has, broadly speaking, because it's important. It's important.
Yeah.
And even though as much as I don't share a lot of the economic philosophy, I would have to say I really think that his voice is extremely important
Yep.
now and extremely necessary now because there's no gang like the government, and he seems to really respect the relationship between the state and the individual, and he seems to really respect the necessity for the state not to overstep its bounds. MAGA has no concept of that. For all this fucking bullshit they talk, they clearly have no concept of that. When push comes to shove, Alex Jones will tie himself in knots to defend Palantir. That's MAGA's conviction on limited government and anti-surveillance. It's all fucking nonsense.
It's all a psyop.
Massie seems to mean it, and I would love to see that debate play out. I think it's an important one. And so I hope he does run. I hope he does run. Good for him for saying this. I hope he hope he does well. I hope his star continues to grow, and I hope he can parlay this into some run for higher office because I think it's a really important conversation.
Yeah, I think a lot of us right now are taking a wait and see attitude. You know, I was just in Buffalo for a month and a half. The intention was to test drive it, and honestly, it passed the test. Like, I really liked it up there. Everything I would have wanted to see, I saw. But, you know, it's no joke to pack up and move someplace. If you're going to do that, you have to be committed.
Right.
I can't commit to this country with this going on right now. You buy a house, man, you're stuck, right? Like, you can't just get rid of that. It's the ultimate illiquid asset.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, it's having that impact on me. And there's been a lot of reporting about how the chaos of this moment is having that impact on a lot of people. I'm not the only one. There are a lot of reports about people holding off on businesses, holding off on big purchases, because it's not looking good. Believe me, not good. Now, your best case scenario, these guys are a bunch of crackpots, and sometimes people like that wind up pulling the roof down on their own heads. Maybe that happens. Maybe the courts are able to check their power in combination with their own incompetence and mass anger. You have enough MAGA wake up to the dangers of what they're trying to do with Palantir to create the dystopian surveillance state, the new world order that supposedly the MAGA base was fighting against, that supposedly they supported Trump as a brick through the window of. Maybe enough of them will wake up and realize that they actually elected the New World Order, that they actually elected the World Economic Forum puppet with a face that they would find more palatable. Do enough people wake up in time? Probably not. Maybe. We'll see. I think in the next year, all of that will become more clear. And then, activists and even just average citizens, you face a choice, man. Like, if your country's going toward fascism, it collapses into a fascist state, do you stay and fight with all the attendant risks, or do you go into exile, man? I mean, plenty of political thinkers have gone into exile under circumstances like that. That's a choice everyone's going to have to make.
Well, it's a question of, do you see the American project as salvageable and redeemable? And this is why a guy like Massie is an important voice, because he kind of represents a vision of America
Right.
that I think a lot of people are very attached to,
Right.
but that very few people adhere to once they attain certain powers, because that
Right.
power is so seductive that it
Right.
pulls them away from that. So if
Well, and the
he
threats are so
maintains,
potent on the other side.
well, sure, and if he can maintain those convictions despite that pressure, I think he will be a politically formidable force, and that is one way out of that. Um, is it a long shot? Yeah, I think it's all very much a long shot, because the forces of capital have just so much wind at their back by now, and that's really what this is about. This is about no one in either the Democratic or the Republican Party decided it would be prudent of them to contain the forces of capital. And now
Right.
it's too late. And now
Yep.
it's too late, which again, this is what Karl Marx said. I mean, this is textbook. It's textbook.
Please clap.